Welcome to the Action Hero podcast. You guys sent in some seriously wild stories this time around.
You're really wild.
Two tales about everyday people suddenly thrust into these totally extraordinary situations, you know?
Absolutely. It's always fascinating to see how like the unbelievable, suddenly becomes reality for people who are
Yeah.
just, going about their day-to-day lives.
It's like that what if moment, right?
Right.
Like, what if this crazy thing happened to me? Anyway, we're going to unpack these action-packed stories and yeah, dive into all the juicy details. So
Buckle up.
buckle up, exactly. First up, we've got 6 shots to save the world. Okay, imagine this. You're just a regular teenager, right? Maybe stressing about homework or, looking forward to the weekend.
Typical teenage stuff.
Exactly, and then bam, you stumble upon a gun, but not just any gun. This thing can rewrite history.
Whoa, hold on, rewrite history. Like Back to the Future style.
Ooh, even crazier with this thing. Each shot changes a specific moment in history, and our main character, Ricky, is so not ready for that kind of responsibility.
That's a lot of power for one teenager to handle. I mean, talk about pressure.
Right. Like, imagine the implications. I mean, the butterfly effect alone is enough to make your head spin.
Yeah, one wrong shot and who knows what could happen.
Exactly. So Ricky's this kind of goofy, clumsy kid, always running late for math class. And he finds this gun in an abandoned lot. It's all rusty and ancient, looking like something out of an Indiana Jones movie.
So it's like a mystical artifact with the power to change time.
Pretty much. But it gets weirder. When Ricky holds the gun, he gets these vivid visions of key moments in history, but not just, watching them happen. He sees how his actions with the gun could change them.
Like alternate timelines branching out with every potential shot.
Exactly. And one of the visions is this image of brain matter splattered all over the Declaration of Independence. Talk about a dramatic wake-up call.
Yikes. That's one way to illustrate the stakes.
Right.
Yeah.
So thankfully, Ricky's not in this alone. He's got his friend Jess, who's super smart and loves history.
The brains of the operation.
Exactly. She jumps right into researching all these historical turning points, trying to figure out the least destructive way to use this crazy gun.
So they're not going for world domination or anything.
No, they start small, their first goal.
Yeah.
Getting rid of those awful mustard packets that always explode.
Okay, I can get behind that. These things are a menace.
Seriously, right? Who hasn't had a shirt ruined by a rogue mustard packet?
So even though they have this incredibly powerful weapon, their first instinct is to fix a minor annoyance. It's kind of endearing.
It is. It's like they're trying to be responsible with this insane power they've stumbled upon. But of course, things never stay simple for long.
Uh-oh, what happened?
So Jess has this younger brother, Timmy, and let's just say he's a little bit of a handful.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And somehow Timmy gets his hands on the gun.
Oh, no, this can't be good.
It's not good. What does he do? Shoots at a squirrel in their backyard.
A squirrel. Out of all the things he could have aimed for?
Right. Seems harmless enough, but the consequences are insane. Reality literally twists, and suddenly all squirrels are transformed into these giant monsters with glowing red eyes.
Giant mutant squirrels. That's terrifying and hilarious at the same time.
Right. The news is calling it the Great Squirrel Uprising, and people are freaking out.
So Timmy's one shot caused a full-blown rodent apocalypse. That escalated quickly.
Oh, yeah, and now Ricky and Jess are in full panic mode because they're the ones who kind of broke reality.
Okay, so giant mutant squirrels are running rampant. What's their plan to fix this? And more importantly, how do they keep Timmy from blinking out of existence?
That's the million-dollar question, and the solution they come up with is so out there it just might work. Remember those cheesy old sci-fi stories about radioactive creatures and stuff?
Oh yeah, the ones with giant ants and radioactive spiders?
Exactly. Well, Ricky remembers this old comic book about radioactive acorns turning squirrels into monsters.
Wait, are they seriously going to use a comic book to fix reality?
It's their only shot, literally. The idea is that the gun can manipulate existing narratives no matter how ridiculous they might be.
So by targeting the source of the mutation in the comic, they can undo it in their reality. That's some next level thinking.
Right. So Ricky takes aim at the panel in the comic book where the squirrel first eats the radioactive acorn and fires.
What happens?
The giant squirrels disappear, just like that. Woof, gone. The neighbor's cat is back to chasing normal-sized squirrels, and the world is back to normal. Well, almost.
Almost.
Yeah, Ricky and Jess are grounded for life, but hey, they saved the world from a squirrel apocalypse and maybe improved mustard in the process.
Okay, I have to admit, that's pretty impressive. Not your typical Tuesday after dark.
Not at all. All right, let's move on to our second story, Ricochet. This one's a bit darker, a bit more gritty, but just as exciting.
Sounds intriguing. Lay it on me.
So our main character is Marcus. He's your classic bullied teenager, pale scrawny, has a crush on a girl who probably doesn't even know he exists.
We've all been there.
Right. But Marcus's life changes forever when a meteorite crashes near his house. Talk about a cosmic wake-up call.
A meteorite? That's a pretty dramatic way to shake things up.
Oh, it gets even more dramatic. He finds a piece of the meteorite, this glowing chunk of metal, and when he touches it, it just vanishes into thin air.
Okay, that's weird.
That's just the beginning. The next day, he's getting picked on by the usual bullies, and suddenly he realizes he's bulletproof.
Bulletproof, like Neo in The Matrix.
Exactly. Bullets are literally bouncing off him. They're stunned. He's stunned. It's a total game changer.
Wow. I can only imagine the shock and then the realization of what he can do with that power.
And what does he do? He becomes a vigilante, naturally. He calls himself Ricochet and starts taking down the local gun runners.
So he's using his newfound power to fight a real-world problem. That's pretty cool.
It is. He's like the ultimate underdog fighting back against the system that's been exploiting people like him for years.
That's like a classic comic book story come to life.
Right. But he quickly realizes that the gun trade is like this giant hydra. You cut off one head and two more grow back.
So taking out a few street thugs isn't going to solve the problem.
Exactly. He needs to go bigger. He starts following the money trail, learning how to hack bank accounts, and track down the real masterminds behind the gun-running operation.
He's evolving from a brawler into a strategist.
Exactly. And guess who turns out to be the big bad pulling the strings?
Don't tell me it's the principal or something.
Nope. Even better. It's Mr. Kensington, the city's beloved billionaire philanthropist, the guy who has his name on every hospital wing and charity event.
Whoa, the wolf in sheep's clothing, classic villain move.
Right, and nobody suspects a thing. He's got this perfect public image while secretly profiting from all the violence and suffering caused by the guns he's selling.
Talk about a hypocrite.
But Kensington isn't the only one who's been digging into the city's dark underbelly.
Yeah.
We also have Jessica, a fiery art student who also happens to be the school paper's star investigative journalist.
Sounds like my kind of girl.
She's awesome. She's been investigating Kensington's shady dealings for a while, and she thinks Ricochet is just another criminal.
So she's on a collision course with Marcus.
They literally collide during a stakeout, and that's when she sees Marcus get shot at point blank, and the bullets just bounce off him.
Her mind must have been blown.
Oh, totally. And from there, they team up. It's like this unlikely alliance between the bulletproof vigilante and the intrepid reporter.
They balance each other out perfectly, brains and brawn.
And their final showdown with Kensington is epic. It all goes down in his ridiculously lavish penthouse overlooking the city.
The villain's lair.
Exactly. And Kensington, being the classic villain he is, launches into this long-winded monologue about his evil plan.
Typical bad guy move.
But Marcus has one last trick up his sleeve. He starts live streaming Kensington's confession with Jessica providing commentary from her hiding spot.
Oh, that's brilliant, using technology to expose the truth.
Right. The whole city is watching as their beloved philanthropist is revealed to be a heartless criminal mastermind.
So much for that perfect public image.
It all comes crashing down. The city erupts in riots, and in a moment of poetic justice, Kensington accidentally shoots himself in the foot. Well, not literally.
How does that even happen?
He fires a shot at Marcus, it ricochets off him, hits a priceless vase, and the sound of shattering porcelain brings the cops rushing in.
So his own bullet leads to his downfall. That's some delicious irony.
It is, and Marcus. He goes back to a slightly more normal life, minus the bullying, of course. And as for him and Jessica, well, let's just say fighting crime together can really bring people closer.
I bet. So there you have it. 2 incredible stories about ordinary people facing extraordinary circumstances.
It makes you think, right? What would you do if you suddenly had the power to change history or become bulletproof? What choices would you make? What kind of hero would you be?
These stories might be fictional, but they raise some really interesting questions about power responsibility and the unexpected ways heroism can emerge.
Absolutely. And those are questions worth pondering. So thank you for joining us on the Action Hero podcast. We'll be back soon with more mind-blowing tales of adventure and intrigue. Stay tuned.
And don't forget to rate and follow.